love the soundtrack, man. What's good, y'all? Hold on, I think it's a little too loud. What's good, y'all? It's your boy AJ. Welcome back to another live stream, man. Saturday Night Fright for the first time, man. Let's get it, man. It feels good to be streaming. Oh man, I can't get over this soundtrack. Let's restart it. It sounds so good, man. How's everybody doing today? Make sure I sound good. It's still a little loud. How's everything now? How's everything now? Testing, testing, testing. I think it sounds good now. Alright, so we here. Bro, this part, when they break it down, oh my gosh, man. Saturday Night Frights live, man. Make sure you grab your snacks, man. Me, I already ate before I even started it, so I don't know why I did that, but I got me some water. This is electrolyte water. It hydrates you better. Let's get this party rolling. Turn that off. Turn the volume back up again. I'll put it on that. Let's go. Headphones on. Let's get it.
The absolute best times of my life were back in college. Back when everything was new.
Snapchat horror stories animated.
The world was just wide open, waiting for me to take whatever I wanted from it.
Bro, with these videos, yo, why are the eyes so red? And they be twitching, like, dude, come on, bro.
It was around 2010, and smartphones
like they all on
were
crack.
everywhere, and social media just wasn't a distraction anymore. It was the way to stay in the loop, especially Snapchat. If you weren't on it,
yeah,
you were missing out. Parties, hookups, gossip, fights. Snapchat captured everything important that was happening around us.
Yeah, it really did.
At first, I'll admit I really wasn't all into.
Yo, is he part of Squid Game? He got the same pants. Like, I think this sucker won.
To it, I preferred face-to-face conversations, real interactions.
Yo, facts. That's me too.
Everybody was doing it, and if you weren't, you might as well have been invisible. Staying current on campus was only possible through these apps.
Are they all doing crack?
That's how I met Bobby. I don't know why yet.
Bobby needs some sleep.
Drawn to her. Maybe it was because she seemed like she had it all together, or maybe it was the way she would laugh at the most ridiculous things in class.
Oh yeah, that's
I started hanging out with her. At first, just casually. You know how it goes. Sitting near each other.
I ain't gonna lie, Bobby look kind of good. Look how she looking. You know what I'm saying?
Other in lectures, then grabbing lunch, and eventually we exchanged Snapchats. After that, everything just kind of escalated. I started seeing her at every party I went to. She was always there with a big group of friends or some guy.
Oh, that's a red flag. Just stay away,
I never
man.
asked any questions, just stuck inside that friend zone, like it was my safety net. But something shifted, as I started thinking there might be more to this. One night, I worked up the nerve to ask her out. It wasn't a big deal, just something casual, you know? Drinks, maybe a movie afterward. But Bobby, man, she just gave me this weird look, like she was torn between laughing and feeling sorry for me.
Bro, don't talk to her ever again, bro. Like, she's already giving you all the red flags. Like, dude, she always come to parties with a bunch of guys. Like, bro, when I see that, I'm pushing myself away. I'm not talking to her ever again. If she want to talk to me, that's on her. But as far as me talking to her, I'm not talking to her at all. And dude, like, she just looks at you when you ask her out, bro. Leave. Don't, bro.
She told me she wasn't ready. She said she'd just gotten out of something and didn't have it in her to start anything new right now. I pretended like I was fine with it, like it didn't sting at all.
You know, dang well you're not fine
Didn't
with
let her
that.
see the disappointment on my face. I backed off after that. stopped
Good.
attending all these parties, and didn't try as hard to sit next to her in class. It's not that I was really bitter or anything, I just felt pointless after all that. After a few weeks, I barely even saw Bobby at all, and when I did, she was a mess.
Look at her
always
eyes.
looking hungover, or worse. I couldn't figure out what was going on with her, but she'd been avoiding me too, so I didn't really feel like it was my place to ask.
All right, good.
One day, though, she confronted me, caught me between classes, and told me that I've been acting weird.
You're
Asked me
acting
why
weird.
I wasn't coming around anymore.
You don't like me, so
I
I'm
told
moving
her it
on.
wasn't like that. I just been busy, and then she gave me this half smile, like she didn't believe me, but didn't care enough to argue. We should hang out soon, she said. Then, with this mischievous grin, she added, I got a surprise for you.
I don't like surprises.
The whole thing just left me feeling uneasy. It definitely wasn't the same Bobby that I got to know, but curiosity had gotten the better of me.
That's Bobby on
We
crack.
hooked up on Snapchat again, just like old times. She invited me to a party. She sent me a snap right after we made plans. A mere shot of her in her underwear. Nothing too revealing, but enough to get my heart racing, my mind wondering where things were going. That Friday when I went to go pick her up from her dorm, I knocked on the door, and I could already hear music playing inside. When Bobby opened up the door, she was in full pregame mode. Her room
Pregame?
smelled like a mix of stale beer and something sweet, maybe from the vape that she had in her hand.
Nope.
She greeted me with this drunken smile and a sloppy hug. We sat in her room for a while, downed a couple of beers, and even did a shot of vodka. Bobby seemed to be on another level that night, way more wild than usual.
Yeah,
I hoped she wasn't going to black out soon, but I wasn't so sure. After a bit, I suggested we head out before it got too late. She agreed, though she was already wobbling when we got to my car.
Nah, you stay at
Drive
home,
wasn't
man.
that far, just a couple of miles to the party.
Hey, let her
itself.
drive.
Bobby kept pulling from a flask in her purse and taking swigs.
Dude, I would have jumped out the car.
Halfway there, she popped the
Look at her eye. What? Bro, she's already drunk. She's falling over. She's driving. She's taking swigs of whiskey and she's popping pills. Dude, get out the car. Leave her alone. Look at her eyes, bro. She's insane. She's a maniac, bro.
pill, just out of nowhere.
You don't know what she about to do.
I wanted to say something to tell her to slow down, but I didn't. And I should have. When we arrived and got to the house, it wasn't the usual crowd. Bobby had told me some of her work friends were throwing the party. I definitely didn't recognize most of the people there. There were a few familiar faces from campus, but the rest seemed to be her coworkers, restaurant people, by the sound of it. They were a different breed, loud, already drunk, and just super rowdy.
Not the kind of people I want
I
to be
tried to
around.
make the best of it, grabbed a drink and hung out in the corner. Just watched Bobby spiral. She was out of control, stumbling around the house, barely able to even string sentences together. At one point, she started calling me by some other guy's name.
Oh
Her
no.
ex, I kind of figured.
Oh no,
The
man.
more I tried to help her, the more she pushed me away, yelling and laughing like it was all some kind of big joke. The party guests didn't really seem to mind. In fact, some of them seemed to enjoy watching her unravel.
Bro, everybody's a
It was
weirdo
almost
in
like a
this
game to them.
at this party,
And I
man.
was the odd man out. I knew it was time to go, but getting Bobby to leave was a complete nightmare. She did not want to go.
Bro, she belongs there.
She did
Don't.
not want to leave that party.
Yeah, let her
Didn't
stay
want to be
there.
around me, and kept calling me by her ex's name. It took almost an hour of convincing, and finally I got her back into my car, buckled her up in the passenger seat, and
Wait.
we were fine.
Hold on. So you drove to her house, right? Y'all was drinking and everything. You let her drive your car, drunk, getting even more drunk with the whiskey, and she was popping pills? Dude, what is wrong with you? You a simp, man. You a simp. Bro, I could never, bro. I'm not letting nobody drive my car. I don't care if you drunk or not. You're not driving my car. I don't even know you like that.
away. That's when things went from bad to worse.
And it's a
The second we
BMW?
pulled out of the driveway, Bobby starts losing it. She was hitting me, not hard, but enough to throw me off. Her voice slurring as she screamed at me, asking me where we were going, demanding I take her back.
I'm taking you home.
I tried to stay calm, told her we're heading back to her dorm, but she was not listening. She kept yelling and hitting me, her fists connecting with my shoulder, my arm, and even the
Yeah.
side of my head. Where are you taking me? she shrieked, her voice hitting a pitch
How
that
many
made
roast
my
teeth did
ears
she got?
ring. Home, Bobby, I said through gritted
Yeah,
teeth,
she's a
trying
psycho.
to keep the car steady. Taking you home. Liar, she screamed. You're lying, just like him. I didn't even have time to ask her who she meant.
Bro,
because
stop the
that's
car.
when
What
she
are you
did the
doing?
unthinkable. Out of nowhere, she lunges at the steering wheel, grabbing it with both hands and yanking it to the side.
Bro,
The car swerved violently, tires screeched.
what is wrong? There's something majorly wrong with this dude. Dude, if she's hitting you, why you keep on driving? Stop the car. Pull over. Handle the situation, man. You have to. Why you keep on driving? Now look what she's doing now. Your car leaning all the way to the freaking side. Bro, whatever happens to you, I hate to say it, brother, but you deserve it, man. Because, bro, anybody with common sense would have just stopped the car.
Screeching as I fought to regain control, but it was no use. The car jerked one way, then the other before flipping over. I heard the sound of glass shattering.
And it's a
sensation
BMW.
of weightlessness as the world just spun around me, and then nothing. When I came to, everything was blurry. I had blood in my eyes, on my hands, and I could hear voices in the distance. Muffled, but they were getting closer. I tried to move, but my whole body ached. Slowly, I turned my head and saw Bobby climbing out of the wreckage. She was still drunk, still incoherent, but somehow she was on her feet.
Leave her alone,
staggering
man.
towards the flashing lights of the emergency vehicles, waving her arms and shouting. He was drunk, she slurred, her voice a mix of desperation and almost triumph. He crashed the car, and he hit me.
I mean, you look way more drunk than
I
him.
couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mind racing, trying to piece everything together, but all I could focus on was the fact that she was just flat out lying. The paramedics and police officers reached the scene, and before I know it, I was being pulled from the car, hands gripping my arms as they checked me for injuries.
I know that burns.
But the way they looked at me, it was like I was the criminal.
Oh.
She says you were driving under the influence, one of the officers said, his voice cold and distant, and that you assaulted her. I tried to speak and tell them what really happened, but the words wouldn't come out. My mouth was dry, my head was spinning. All I could think about was, how is this happening? For the next 45 minutes, I found myself trapped in a nightmare, question after question, accusation after accusation. Nobody believed me, and I guess why would they? Bobby was playing the victim perfectly. Still drunk, but convincing enough. It wasn't until they searched her purse and found that bottle of pills that things slightly start to change.
Good.
Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they let me go. The charges were dropped, and Bobby, well, I never saw her again after that.
Leave her alone,
I blocked
man.
her on all social media.
As you
cut
should.
ties with anybody that knew her. My car was totaled. The insurance paid out, and it should have been the end of it. Just a bad memory that I could push away, right? But sometimes I still get that feeling like I'm not alone, like somebody's watching me through my phone. And every now and again, I'll get a Snapchat notification from a name that I don't recognize, and I never open it.
Just blocking. Don't even open it, just block it. That's all you can do at this point.
I can still feel the bruise under my right eye sometimes, a dull ache that comes and goes when the weather changes. It's been years since that night, but I'll never forget it, or the way it all spiraled out of control because of a stupid app. It started so innocently, just like any other night. I had the day off, which meant I didn't have to deal with the grind at the movie theater, so when Bryce texted me about a party, I jumped at the chance. I'd heard about it through a few friends on Snapchat, some random college house party, and one of those places where you didn't really need an invitation. Just enough cash for gas and maybe a pack of beer, if you wanted to show some class. Bryce, Lane, and I were ready to blow off some steam, so we piled up into Bryce's old Civic and headed out. We drove through the maze of identical suburban streets, past rows of split-level homes with their tidy lawns and minivans parked in the driveways. And then, as if by magic, we found it. The house that was absolutely bumping with people and music. You could hear the bass from the car, vibrating the windows as we rolled up. There were groups of college kids spilling out into the yard, drinks in hand, laughter and shouting over the music. It was the kind of place that you daydream about when you're stuck in some boring lecture, counting down the minutes until the weekend arrived.
Yo,
We
fast.
find a parking spot, hopefully where nobody would give us a ticket, and then made our way inside. The door was not even locked. It swung open as we approached, almost like the house itself was welcoming us into the chaos.
Okay.
The place was packed, bodies moving through the halls, some clustered in the living room where a group was playing some drinking games. Others swayed to the music that thumped from a speaker.
I'll actually go to a party like this.
I couldn't see, but
Only
somebody
once,
shoved a
though.
red plastic cup into my hand. Didn't even have time to ask what it was. Beer, whiskey, rum. Okay.
Look, I'll definitely go to a party like this, but don't give me no drinks, because if you offer me a drink, I will tip it over. Like, I'm not drinking. I don't drink at all. I don't smoke. I don't drink nothing. I like to stay pure. You know what I'm saying? But I have a good time though.
We recognized a few familiar faces in the crowd, some of them classmates, a couple of people we'd seen at other parties, but mostly it was strangers. That's kind of how these things go. An eclectic mix of people just looking to cut loose and have a good time. I took a sip from my cup.
You didn't even know what it is.
Beer hitting my tongue as I followed Bryce and Lane deeper inside the party. They were already looking for trouble. Within minutes, they found themselves in the middle of a heated beer pong match, both of them going neck and neck with some other guys who clearly had been practicing. I stood on the sidelines, cheering them on and laughing every time Lane tried to distract the other team with some ridiculous dance move. It was all
That
fun,
works.
the kind of carefree night I've been looking forward to all week. At some point, my cup ran dry, and I decided to make my way back to the keg for a refill.
This
I
dude.
pushed my way through the crowd, squeezing past people in various states of drunkenness, trying not to spill what little was left in my cup. And that's when it happened. She bumped into me. She was drunk, but not in the sloppy, I can't stand right way.
Yeah, I ain't
she
gonna
was
lie,
just
man.
kinda loose.
I ain't gonna
Arm
lie.
slipped around mine like we were
Okay.
old friends.
Okay.
Like it was almost the most natural thing in the world.
What you trying to do?
Her body pressed against mine as we half danced, half walked towards the keg, her laughter ringing my ears. I don't even know her name, but at the moment, it didn't really matter. I was caught up in it, the music, the haze of alcohol that buzzed through my system. We reached the keg and I refilled my cup and then hers. We locked
got the same
eyes, and
drink?
before I knew what I was doing, we were doing one of those ridiculous beer chugging poses. Our arms intertwined as we tilted our cups back. The crowd around us, when there had been a crowd,
Dude, they're
started
recording?
cheering, egging us on as we raced to finish. The beer was cold and bitter, but I didn't care. All I could focus on was the roar of people around us, the way her body moved with mine as we downed those last drops.
Match made in heaven, I guess.
And then as we both finished and slammed our cups down in victory, she kissed me. It wasn't a shy peck either. It was a full-on right on the mouth, as if we'd known each other forever. I wasn't shocked. It was a party after all. These things
Shouldn't
happen.
be shot.
I kissed her, just for a second, and then flash. Even through my closed eyes, I saw a burst of light, and when I opened them, I saw the crowd had formed a circle around us,
Is it still
cheering
recording?
us on. Half of them had their phones out, recording the moment, capturing it forever in these grainy pixels and shaky frames. She pulled away giggling, and before I could say anything, she vanished into the crowd, lost in the sea of faces. I stood there, blinking in the harsh light of all those phones, feeling dazed. But it was fine. It was all just part of the night.
Bro, there's something
Finished
wrong.
my drink and
I
shrugged
can't
it
put my
off.
finger on it.
Made my way back to Bryson Lane. They'd lost their game by one cup and were already setting up for another. I told them about the girl, about the kiss, and they both laughed, clapping me on the back like I'd won some kind of prize. The rest of the night just blurred together. More drinks, more games, more faces that I didn't know. By midnight, I was ready to call it quits. I still had to work the next day after all. And the last thing I
You still
needed
over
was
there?
to be hungover at the theater. Bryce and Lane were in the same boat, so we downed one more beer and then all headed out. I don't really remember too much of the drive back, just the hum of the car engine and the dull throb of growing headache. Bryce dropped me off at my dorm, and I let myself in, collapsing onto my bed without even bothering to change out of my clothes. I was out within minutes. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing. Groggy, I rolled over and grabbed it, squinting at the bright screen. There was a Snapchat notification.
Rose?
Somebody had added me. Spring Rose 19. I frowned, trying to remember if I'd given anybody my username the night before. Then it hit me. The girl, the one from the party.
Oh, shoot.
She must have asked around, got my name from somebody there. That wasn't weird, right? People did that all the time.
Yeah, that's totally
I
not
shut it
weird.
off and opened up my message. Have fun last night? It read. I smiled, still half asleep, and typed back, "Yeah, I did. I hope you did too." I tossed my phone aside and got ready for work, pulling on my uniform for the theater. It wasn't until I was brushing my teeth again that I heard that buzz. Another message. I checked it. This time a photo. It was a picture of us
That
as
is
a
definitely
kid,
her.
locked in with that stupid beer chugging pose, right before the kiss. It didn't give me much thought. People took pictures all the time at parties. Somebody must have sent it to her. I sent a quick message back. "Nice pic. What's your name, by the way?" "Rose," she replied.
Rose. I mean,
Rose.
it said at
Of
the
course
top.
it was. I finished getting ready and headed out, my phone buzzing periodically with new messages from Rose. As I drove to work, I found myself replying without really thinking. She seemed to be pretty easy to talk to. Classes, my job.
That's a red
I told her
flag.
that I was a student. I worked at the theater and I'd be there all day. By the time I clocked in, I felt like I knew her, or at least I felt comfortable enough that I didn't mind sharing little details about myself.
That's not a good
It's
idea.
funny how quickly you feel like you can connect to somebody through a screen. The day dragged on, the usual monotony of handing out popcorn and tearing tickets. It wasn't until around noon that things got kind of weird. I was working the concession stand, minding my own business, when a guy walked up to the counter. He was older,
you good?
probably in his 30s. Greasy hair, faded jacket that looked like he hadn't been washed in weeks.
Why you look like that?
He didn't
Everything
order anything,
good?
just stood there, staring. "Hey, can I help you?" I asked, forcing a smile. "You're," insert my name, "right?" My smile faltered.
Who's asking?
Yeah. Do I know you?" He didn't answer, just kept staring. His eyes flicked up and down like he was sizing me up. I felt a chill run down my spine. Something was off about him. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. You go to my college, right?" he asked.
Wait, what?
I
You in your
nodded.
30s?
"Yeah."
I mean, you can still go to college
You?
in your 30s.
He didn't answer again. Instead, he leaned closer, resting his hands on the counter. "How's Rose doing?" My blood turned to ice. How the hell did this guy know about her?
There's something wrong with
I opened
her.
up my mouth to say something, but the words never came. This was all weird. Before I could react, he gave me this slow, unsettling smile and then walked away. Disappeared into the crowd.
Man, there's something up with Rose, man.
I stood there for a moment, trying to process what had just happened. Maybe it was just some guy from the party, somebody who'd seen me with Rose. Maybe it's nothing. But the way he said her name, the way he just looked at me.
There's something
I
fishy
shook it
going
off,
on.
Finished my shift and then headed out to the parking lot. That's when I saw it. There, scrawled across my windshield,
You are next?
in bright red lipstick.
What you
were
mean
two
by
words. "You're next." I stood frozen in place, staring at those words smeared across my windshield. "You're next." The letters were sloppy, almost rushed, but the message was unmistakable. A surge of adrenaline shot right through me as I scanned the parking lot, my eyes darting between the rows of parked cars. It was broad daylight out, but suddenly everything felt darker, more oppressive. I fumbled for my phone, hands shaking, thumb swiped across the screen as I brought up a message thread with Rose. Me. Who the hell is this guy? What guy? Don't play dumb, the guy from earlier, he knows about you. A reply came almost instantly. "Don't worry about it, just get in your car and leave."
Whoa, what?
The casualness of her response just sent this chill through me. How did she know I was standing by my car? My head spun. Something wasn't right.
Yeah, you
I
gotta.
needed to get out of there.
You need to
fast.
block Rose ASAP, man.
I shoved my phone in my pocket and then turned back to my car. And that's when I saw him. Across the parking lot, standing between two cars, was that same greasy-haired guy from the concession stand.
Don't tell me that was Rose and he didn't see it because he was drunk. Please don't tell me that's the case, man. Because I just realized I think they have the same hair color. Do not tell me, bro. No wonder they was all recording. Because, bro, this sucker was kissing the dude. Ugh. Bro.
It's much closer now, watching me with those same predatory eyes. His hands were jammed into the pockets of that dirty jacket. He took a step forward. His movements were slow and deliberate, like he had all the time in the world. I quickly unlocked the car, heart racing. Just as I reached for the handle, a voice stopped me. "Hey man, you good?" I looked up to see Bryce jogging over.
Where do you come from?
He worked at the restaurant right around the corner, so occasionally we would link up in the parking lot after work.
Oh, gotcha.
Relief washed over me for a split second, but then I remembered what I'd seen. Dude, there's this guy. Before I could finish, Bryce glanced up towards where the man had been standing, but now that space between those cars were empty. He was gone, just like that.
I'm telling you, that's probably
what
Rose
guy?
right there.
Bryce asked. I scanned the parking lot again. He was just right there. He's been following me or something. He knew my name and then asked about the girl from last night. Bryce's expression darkened. Haha. Alright, you sure you didn't imagine that maybe somebody's just messing with you, dude? I shook my head. I swear, man, he was right there. Look at my windshield. I pointed to the smear of lipstick, the ominous
I know you see
message
that.
gleaming under the midday sun. I mean, it was undeniable. Something weird is going on. I just didn't really know at what level yet. Bryce's eyes narrowed as he looked at it, but before he could say anything, I heard the sound of footsteps behind me. Heavy footsteps. I barely had time to turn around before something hit me hard, right in the back.
Whoa,
sending me
wait.
stumbling forward into Bryce.
The dude didn't see that guy? What?
Pain exploded across my shoulders as I hit the ground, scraping my hands on already rough asphalt. Bryce shouted, but it was far too late. Whatever was about to happen was already in motion. That greasy-haired guy was on me.
Dude.
His breath hot and sour as he grabbed me by the collar of my shirt and yanked me back to my...
Alright, that's either Rose, or that's Rose's ex, and he's mad because he saw the picture of him kissing Rose, and dude, this dude is a freaking weirdo, man.
feet. My vision blurred as he slammed me into the back of the car, the impact knocking the wind out of me. Before I could react, he punched me in the nose and I lost my vision.
I feel like I got punched.
I gasped for air, my chest heaving as the guy leaned in close, his face masked in fury. "Told you, didn't I?" he said.
Told me what?
"You're next."
Bro, I'm about to beat you up.
I tried to push him off, but that dude was stronger than he looked. His hands were like iron vice grips, gripping my
man.
shirt. My mind raced, desperate for some kind of escape, but everything was foggy, distant. I could hear Bryce shouting still, but his voice seemed very far away.
Bro, Bryce, help
muffled by
out.
the
Help
pounding
brother
in my
out.
head. I felt my phone fall out of my hand. I remembered I had my own body. I wasn't helpless. The guy raised his fist, and I braced myself for the hit. I brought my hands up and even tried to push him away. But before he could swing, Bryce came barreling from the side, tackling him to the ground
It's
with a
about
force that
time.
made the pavement tremble. The two of them went down hard, gripping in a tangle of limbs and fists. I stumbled back, clutching my side, trying to catch my breath. For a moment, it did look like Bryce had the upper hand. He was bigger, stronger, and he pinned that guy down, landing a few solid punches to the face.
Good. Who is this
The
guy?
greasy-haired man was relentless.
Oh, man.
His eyes were wild and filled with something dark and completely unhinged. He twisted under Bryce, grabbing a
Oh.
chunk of his jacket and yanked, flipping Bryce over with this brutal force that sent him crashing into the side of my car.
This dude's a
grunted in
maniac.
pain, and before he could recover, the guy was now on him,
Oh,
fist
man.
hammering down with this vicious precision.
Now you gotta do something now.
I tried to move and tried to help him, but uncooperative. But my mind screamed at me to do something, anything. But my legs were like lead. It felt like I was trying to move underneath this weighted blanket.
Bro, if you don't do something...
Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. A long wrench, half
that's
hidden under the
perfect.
car next to mine.
That's perfect.
I lurched toward it, my fingers closing around that cold metal. The weight of it gave me confidence. Solid. I gripped it as tightly as I could.
Don't let go.
This wasn't how I envisioned my workday going, and not what I wanted to do at all, but I knew in my heart, this was the only option. Without thinking, I swung. The iron connected with a sickening crack against the back of that guy's head.
Good. Oh,
He froze, his body going rigid for a split second before he crumpled to the ground.
he deserved that, man.
Now
He was
motionless.
wildin'.
Bryce scrambled back, his eyes wide with shock as he stared at the man laying between us. He had a little blood trickling from his lips and nose. I dropped the wrench with my hands trembling like leaves in the wind. The parking lot was now eerily silent, the chaos of fighting dissipating into a heavy, oppressive stillness. There were cars still in motion behind us. The movie theater was a busy street, but still, apparently nobody saw. No one stopped to help. It was
They didn't want to get
isolating and
involved.
unsettling. Bryce looked at me with his voice shaking. Dude, what the hell just happened?
I don't know. He just came out of nowhere.
Turned out Rose had a boyfriend, or at least so this guy thought.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
exactly sure of their connection, but Rose and that greaseball from the parking lot had been friends at some point. Whatever the relation was, Greaseball fell hard for Rose, who had no interest in dating him. So he stalked her, admired her from afar. When he saw the pictures going round of her and I kissing at the party, he figured out who I was, then reached out to me via Snapchat. The guy just simply lost it, decided he needed to fight for his woman. Bryce and I ended up being alright for the most part. That other guy spent the night in the hospital. Fortunately for me, there wasn't any charges to press. It was essentially his word against ours. As all the phone evidence had been auto-deleted via Snapchat. The police gave me an order of protection. He told the greaseball to keep his distance from me, Bryce, and Rose. And that was that. I took an extended, serious break.
Let me tell you something, man. To this freaking sleaze greaseball. Dude, you're in your late 30s. Rose, she's like in her early 20s or something like that. She's not going to date you. You're so old, bro. Yeah, you're ugly. Like, bro, nobody wants to date you, sucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro. I don't know why you started stalking her, but, bro, you need to give it up, man. You ain't going to get nobody. Like, bro, especially now. No. Freaking weirdo.
From all social media. Scrubbed all my contacts to make sure everybody was real. And slowly and surely took control of my life again. The lamest part, I never even saw Rose again. Never even heard from her. Not even once.
You didn't contact her? You didn't want to get a date? I mean, at this point, it's not even worth it no more.
And this is something that happened a while back when I was in high school. It was almost 10 years ago, and this was pretty early on into the school year. So randomly one day, I saw that I got added by somebody new on Snapchat. I looked, and it was a guy named Michael something, but I didn't recognize his last name at all. So I did not add him back, and I deleted it.
Yo, what's up with Snapchat? Like, sometimes you just be chilling, right? And then you get random friend requests, like, from random people. Like, how did you get my Snapchat? And how do you know me? Like, bro, obviously, like, you guys, I want you guys to follow me. So, you guys can follow me. But even before YouTube, like, I would get random people adding me. And I don't know you. Like, they'll add me, then they'll text me, who are you? Like, sucker, I didn't even add you. Like, what are you telling me for? Who are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that.
A few days later, I got added on Snapchat by him again, and once more, I deleted him. However, probably just a few days after the second time that I deleted the guy, I realized that he was actually in one of my classes and went to my school. I had never talked to him before, and he sat in the back middle of one of my classes while I sat towards the front and one side. So I would never really notice him much, but I did recognize him. He was a new student in the school, and prior to that class, I had never seen him before. Well, he added me again for a third time. This time, I decided to add him back, just because I knew that he went to my school now and that he was new. I still did not know anything about him other than that.
That's the reason why you added him
I was
back?
surprised, though, that he kept adding me, even after I would not add him back. Well, finally adding him was something that I would quickly regret.
Oh, yeah?
It was the very next day, early on in the school day, and he sent me a picture of himself. It was just a basic selfie pretty much, with no words. I responded sending one back, but he then sent me like 5 random pictures. We were both in different
Red
classes
flag.
at the time. Some he took of other students, and others were just of the floor and whatever. I opened them up and did not reply because it seemed kind of weird. Later on in the day, we had the class that we were in together. This teacher did not like it when students would be on their phone during class, so I did not go on my phone at all during the class until the very end when we were done and all waiting for the bell to ring. When I did, I saw that there were tons of notifications on Snapchat from this Michael guy. I looked. He literally sent me at least 20 pictures.
How much you want to bet is going to be the back of her head? How much you want to bet? If it's not the back of her head, I owe everybody watching this $1.
I opened them all, quickly going from one to the next. They were all pictures of me that he took from where he was sitting. I found this pretty creepy. After opening them all and not responding, I decided to confront him in person. The bell rang at that point.
I guess it's not the back of her head. I don't know.
But I caught up to him outside of the classroom in the hallway. I asked him why he had taken so many pictures of me in class.
Oh, he did. Oh, y'all owe me $1.
They're not saying anything. I told him I thought it was really weird, and I was going to tell him not to do it again, but before I could, he just turned and ran away.
What? Yeah, block that dude, man.
Michael was now seeming like sort of a creep to me, and I decided to delete him on Snapchat.
Good.
So I did. A few days went by, and I saw him in class, but didn't talk to him or anything. Then he added me on Snapchat again.
How many accounts you gonna make?
This time, I blocked him. I really wanted nothing to do with the guy. Well, that very same day, I left school when it was over. I drove to and from school and had a car during this time. I remember that I left school, and when I was on my way home, I noticed that Michael was driving behind me. I had never noticed this before and was immediately suspicious. When I made it about halfway home, he was still behind me. I didn't think that he lived near me, and I figured that based on his previous behavior, he was possibly following me.
Yeah, that sucker don't live near you.
All the way home, he was still there, and after making it less than a mile from my house, I did not want to go any further, so I pulled over to the side of the street. Michael slowed down in his car but did not pull over. He ultimately drove past me and kept going. Then I went home. I didn't really know what to do about this whole deal. Over the next few days,
you gotta tell somebody about
Michael
that.
In class, and I completely ignored him. Luckily, he didn't try talking to me or anything. He also did not add me again on Snapchat.
Good.
Or try following me home. And probably a week or two after this, I stopped seeing him in class. Eventually, I asked around, and I found out that he apparently changed schools or something.
Good, man.
I'm glad that he did. That whole situation is something that I would like to forget.
Freaking weirdo, man. Like, dude. Oh, my live stream. Freaking weirdo, man. Oh, shoot. Yo, like, that's dude. Us. Oh, you can't see me. All right, let me stop before it start glitching out. But man, freaking weirdo energy, man. Like, why would you add somebody? They finally add you back. Why in the world are you sending? The first thing you send to them is a picture of yourself, dude. And why would you send a picture back? And then you sent like 5 more. This dude is a weirdo, bro. That's straight weirdo energy. Freaking ridiculous, man. Let's do this one. We got 4 Craigslist horror stories animated. Let's get it.
As all of you know, life can be a struggle sometimes. Making ends meet isn't always as easy as just getting a job. Several years back, I couldn't find a job. It was rejection after rejection.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, man. Hey, looking at her, hey. Hello, my name is AJ, man. You look very beautiful right now. And let me stop.
And at the time, nobody was really hiring, and the few places that were hiring were very ultra competitive. I was barely making over minimum wage as a deli employee at a grocery store. I remember one night I was working online for ways to make extra money, and I ended up stumbling upon Craigslist. I'd heard of Craigslist, but never really explored it for
Yeah, I
myself.
never used Craigslist before.
I found an ad on Craigslist for a freelance job where I would be what's called a secret shopper. For those of you who may not be familiar with what a secret shopper is, it's basically an anonymous customer who comes into a store and asks the employees a series of questions. The employee is then graded on certain criteria. For example, does the employee make eye contact, greet you, give a suggestion, offer to escort the customer, and give a parting comment, etc.? It seems simple, but a lot of companies, specifically the store I work for, will reprimand the employee for a bad secret shopper score, and even fire the employee if they get more than one bad score.
Oh.
Since I had experience in a store and I know exactly what they're looking for, I thought that this would be an easy way to make some money on the side. The first store I visited was a local chain of grocery stores in my hometown. Oddly enough, it was the same company I worked for, but not the same store, though. I started making my rounds and noticed a man, probably in his 20s, stocking the shelves. He looked at me and immediately put his head back down. He didn't greet me, so he got points off right away. I had to greet him and ask him where the canned tuna was. He never lifted his head from stocking the shelves and just sort of angrily said, "Aisle 2, halfway down."
Docking off points, man. You're already failing.
This guy lost points for not making eye contact and offering to show me where it was located. Also, just for the record, I know how ridiculous all of this is, but these stupid companies take this junk so seriously. They don't care if you're waiting on another customer or what the excuse is. If you get a bad score, you're kind of screwed. I was trying to pause and give the guy a chance to redeem himself by telling me to have a good day, but he never did. And I eventually had to initiate the parting remark, and that's when he finally looked up and said, "Yeah, you too." And I finally saw his name tag and wrote down on it was a name, Patrick.
Patrick.
And I smiled and walked away, and I noticed that Patrick kept his eye on me.
Do we like
I felt his stare as
I
I
don't
walked
blame him.
away, and I started to figure that he was on to me, that I was maybe a secret shopper.
No, that's
I
not
was
gonna
going
like
to ask
you.
a few more employees questions, but I started to feel uncomfortable. Every time I looked up, I could see this Patrick at the end of the aisles. It
Bro,
almost seemed like he was following me.
dude's a
I
creep.
wasn't sure what the end game was for this guy, but I didn't want to find out. I cashed out, and the cashier passed her secret shop with flying colors, though. And after I cashed out, I briskly made my way to my car, and I just wanted to get out of the store so bad and be done with this. Once I was in the car, I started writing down the full report before I drove off. I just wanted to get all the information down while it was still fresh. But while I was writing, I looked up and saw my buddy from the aisle intensely walking through the parking lot.
This dude definitely liked you.
Patrick. I ducked down a little bit, but thankfully it didn't appear like he had noticed me. He just kept walking until he got to his car, which was a dark four-door sedan of some kind, and he sped off, and I waited a few minutes before I departed. I don't know why, but this guy just gave me the creeps, though. I kept thinking to myself, why was he following me around the store like that? If he really was, but it truly did feel like he was, and it just felt so weird. I'm a textbook overthinker, so I tried telling myself that maybe I was overthinking, but something about him was just definitely off.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
night, I went home and I emailed my supervisor the report, and life went on. It only took a day or two for me to completely forget about that interaction. A few nights after I turned in the report, I was having a late-night dinner with my boyfriend.
Aw, man.
We were just hanging out, enjoying each other's company. The relaxing evening was interrupted by a loud and consistent banging on the front door. It wasn't just an aggressive knock either. It was like the sound of someone throwing their entire body weight at the door.
What?
You have no idea how horrifying it is to hear a knock at the door at that hour.
Grab
let alone
over
a
reliable.
banging knock like this one. We looked out the window, and I was at a loss for words. It was that Patrick guy from
This
the grocery
dude's
store,
off crack, man.
and he looked horrible.
Look at his eyes.
His eyes looked like they were sunken in, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. I called out, telling him to leave right now, that I was calling the police, and he didn't even flinch. He just kept banging and demanding that I let him enter the home. Repeatedly, he kept saying that I ruined his life, and that I needed to pay.
She has a
That there would be
boyfriend.
an
You missed
eye
your
for an
chance.
eye, I remember him saying.
Yeah, unfortunately, man. Yeah, I missed my chance, man. Oh, man.
I didn't even want to think about what he meant by that.
My
While
hopes
this
is crushed
interaction
right
was
now.
happening, my boyfriend had called the police, though. They must have been in the area because the first squad car
NYPD?
showed up in less than 2
They're
minutes.
in New York?
And it's a good thing, too, because I don't know how much longer my door was going to hold up. Patrick was really throwing himself into the door.
This dude is still
and
doing
this whole
that?
sight was nuts. A cop tackled Patrick right on my front steps and handcuffed him.
Good. Get
And while they were
speared.
apprehending him, they ended up finding a knife concealed in his waistband, which
Are you that mad you got a bad report? Bro, that's all on you, though. You didn't make eye contact. You didn't want to talk to her. You seemed very angry. Like, and you had an attitude. Bro, every mark, everything got crossed off. You failed. You got a 0.
for me, was the most terrifying information about this entire ordeal. I still can't stop thinking about what he intended to do with that knife if he had broken down the door. After he was arrested, I did get some closure on this whole nightmare. It turns out it was just a situation of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
That is very true.
Apparently, Patrick was at the end of the cliff, and my visit to the store that day was what forced him to fall completely off. He was struggling to pay his bills, and from what I was told, his girlfriend had just broken up with him the day of that secret shopping event.
Oh, so he's looking for another
And when I
one?
approached him in the store that day, he was only minutes away from the end of his shift and was just mentally completely done at that point. I get it. We've all been there. Well, to a degree.
Yeah, I never been
And I
there.
happened to catch him on a bad day, and asking for a can of tuna was the last thing on his mind. He ended up losing his job because he had failed another secret shopper report, a report that I sent in. The part that I can't still figure out about this is I have no idea how he found out where I lived. I don't think he followed me that day after the store, but there's no other way that he would know where I lived.
He saw you in your car.
I stayed at my boyfriend's house after that night, and I rarely stayed at my old house alone. I don't know what happened to this guy, but I genuinely hope that he figured it out, and more importantly, I hope these stores get rid of the secret shopper program because it's just horrible.
You see, my job has secret shoppers, and we don't even know like who it is. So we gotta like, you know what I'm saying?
Not long
Treat
ago,
everybody the
I
same.
decided to listen to a friend of mine about picking up some babysitting jobs from Craigslist.
Craigslist.
I know that seems weird.
That's the thing. You can find jobs on Craigslist. I thought that was only for like shopping or something like that. Unless I'm tripping, I don't know. But last time I heard about Craigslist, that was back in like 2018. Like, is that even still around, Craigslist?
But I was surprised at how many postings for that type of work were on there. Ordinarily,
I did not know you can
needed the
find
job,
jobs
but
on
at the time,
Craigslist.
I had just broken up with my boyfriend, and I didn't think that I was going to be able to pay my rent. This seemed like the easiest way to make some money. It helps that I used to babysit when I was a teenager, and my brother has 2 small kids, so I felt like an expert in the field. After all, how hard could looking after some children for a few hours be?
Oh, you
I
think
set
it's
up a
easy?
job for early Saturday evening, and I started messaging a woman named Chloe. The woman said that her and her husband would be leaving the house at around 5:15 p.m. and they would be back sometime after 10. She gave me the address and all the information about the children. I would be watching 2 boys, and one of the boys was 7 and the other was 9. I was figuring that this was going to be easy money. In my opinion, boys that age are easy to entertain, and because they weren't babies, they wouldn't need my undivided attention. After I talked to the lady, I told my friend about the job, who was jealous of the money that I was about to make. She had been doing the Craigslist babysitting jobs for a few months now and had never come close to the money I was about to make, or
How much
at
about to
least
make?
told that I was about to make.
How much?
On Saturday evening, I made my way to the address given to me by Chloe, and right away, I had some regrets. The house was in a very sketchy neighborhood. Not necessarily crime-ridden, but it was a poor and run-down area. When I knocked on the door, there was no answer. I waited for several minutes and attempted several more knocks on the door when, finally, a strange and very rough-looking man answered the door.
Where y'all about to go, man? Nah, go back.
Finally,
where y'all about to go?
A strange...
You looking like that? Suck, you ain't going nowhere. Like, bro, you got acne all over your face, bro. Man, you ain't going nowhere.
A strange and very rough-looking man answered the door. He was tall and skinny with this massive gray beard. I would say that he was at least in his 50s, unless he just looked rough for his age. And in this very low and gruff voice, he said, "Come on in, sweetheart. Sorry."
He sounded like that too?
My ears ain't what they used to be. I walked inside, and the first thing I noticed was how not child-friendly the house was.
You drinking too?
A lot of trash and just general clutter was lying about. And I was just standing in the front of the door, and the man then says, "My wife should be back any minute with the kids. Go and sit down and make yourself at home. Sorry, I know the place ain't the cleanest." I was trying not to be
even
judgmental.
close.
I know it sounds like I should be running for the hills, but I didn't want to unfairly judge this guy or his family. And the man pointed down the hall and told me that the living room was in the back of the house.
The back of the house?
I made my way back there and sat on this bluish couch. The amount of anxiety I felt at this moment was absolutely crushing, though. I saw no pictures of children, no toys.
Red flag,
no
another red flag.
whatsoever that children even lived there.
Another red flag.
While I was waiting on the couch, I could hear the man walking back and forth in the other room, and I think he was mumbling to himself. Every few minutes he would begin to shout, "Hey, sorry about this, ma'am. My wife can be forgetful with the time. I promise she'll be back soon." A few minutes later,
he ain't got no wife,
he ran
man.
into the room scratching his head.
What?
With this big smile, he said, "You know what? I'm an idiot. I bet my wife came inside with the kids through the basement entrance. She's probably waiting for you down there. No."
First off, you ain't got no wife, bro. Nobody wants you. Two, why are you talking about going to the basement? Why would she bring the kids to the basement? And why would she be waiting on her in the basement? Anything that has to do with any type of basement is a red flag, and I'm straight up leaving, man. I don't mess with basements. I don't mess with attics. I don't mess with people in the walls. Like, freak that, bro.
Nobody uses the front door that you came in. The basement's right over there. Why don't you go check it out, and I'll meet you all down there in a minute.
How about you go in the basement, and I'll lock you down there, and I'll board it up, and I'll leave.
Scarecrow, pointing to a door on the far side of the room. I didn't know what to do and just nodded and told him I would go check, and truthfully, I had enough at this point, though. He smiled and in this very unsettling voice says, "Oh, that's great. I'll see you in a second, sweetie."
You actually about to go down there?
And then he walked
Bro,
back
don't be an idiot.
I opened the door to the basement out of curiosity, and it was obvious that nobody was down there. The lights were off, and the smell was just horrific when it hit my nose. There was no chance I was going to go down there. And while staring into the dark basement, I heard that he was still bumping around in the front room, and without thinking, I ran as fast as I could toward the front door that I came from.
You should have been did that.
Once I hit it, the door was locked. I quickly unlocked it and ran for my car. As I opened the car door, I could hear him yelling from inside the house, but I didn't look back. I started backing down the driveway, and I could see him running out of the house, waving his hands back and forth.
So I could go back inside,
Thankfully,
man.
by the time he reached the driveway, I was already flying down the road. I almost didn't call the police because technically I was physically fine and maybe even overreacting. But after calling my friend, she convinced me to call the authorities just in case.
No, you should have called me.
After the phone call, I had no idea what had happened. The dispatcher on the phone told me that they would take it from here and that was the end of it, at least on my end. Maybe there was a wife and kids. Maybe this was just a poor family that I just very unfairly judged.
Nah, man.
Maybe there really was an entrance to the basement that his wife used instead of that front door.
That made no sense.
But honestly, I'd rather
it got me
look
scratching
like
my
a crazy
head.
jerk
Like,
who judged the family than potentially be the victim of something very much worse.
that whole
The
thing made no
unnerving
sense.
nature of the situation told me to run, and I stand by that gut feeling. That very well could have been the best decision of my life.
You sure enough is, because if you would have went in the basement,
Last
bro,
year, I
you
was
would have never
trying
been
to sell
seen
my
again.
2007 Mercury Mariner. It was in pretty good shape, but had a lot of miles, and it's kind of old. But overall, it ran very good and is a good car. I decided to list it on Craigslist because I've had experience buying cars on there before. When I had used Craigslist in the past, it had gone pretty well. So I took several pictures of the car.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of looking for another car too. I'm gonna go on Craigslist and find something, cause like, bro, I need one back. Like, my car right now is about to blow up soon. Like, the amount of money I put in this car, this old car, is insane, man. It's worth more than the car itself. Like, I gotta get me another car, man. Like, I'm gonna go on
and then
Craigslist.
listed it. The next day, I didn't get any interest at all. But on the second day, I got a response to the ad. The text message came from a man saying that his name was Al and that he would like to buy the car. He seemed pretty confident about it right away. I was asking a pretty reasonable price, so I gave him my address to come and look at it. Now, I lived in an apartment building. I didn't think it was a big deal to give out the address because there were several buildings in the complex. My car was already parked out in the parking lot, and the guy would have no way of knowing which apartment was mine. So I asked Al when he was free, and he said he could come by the next day after work at 9 p.m. I said okay, and then I cleaned out the car and got it ready for selling. The following night, I left my apartment building and went to my car in the parking lot. Al showed up shortly after.
Why did he pull up like that?
He got out and I met him by my Mariner. Al was a big guy, had lots of tattoos, was probably about 250 pounds and 6 feet tall.
Straight muscle.
After meeting, I showed Al the car and he looked around at it. After several minutes, he asked to take it for a test drive. I went with him and Al drove the car around the block and down some nearby streets. I remember that he said he liked it and it seemed fine. At that point, I was really thinking that I was going to sell the car that night. After the test drive, we returned to my apartment complex, and he parked the car in the space that it had been before. But then, after we got out of the car, Al just said that he would think about it. I was disappointed, because it seemed like he was going to buy it before.
So I got like 10 other people waiting for this car.
And then said bye to him. But that's when Al asked me if he could use my bathroom quick. This seemed sketchy.
He
I
outside.
didn't think it would be okay with me for him to use my bathroom. I said no thanks and started walking away. To me, I was afraid that it might be some sort of a setup. I didn't want this guy coming into my apartment.
Exactly.
He was still kind of standing around by my car though.
This dude got a double
This
hairline.
guy coming into my apartment.
He got a double hairline. There's no way that's a shadow, man. He got the McDonald's logo twice on his head, bro. Dude, he pee outside.
He was
He's not
still
going
kind of
inside my
standing
house.
around by my car though. My apartment building had a side door and a front door. The side door was not very far away.
Make sure
so
both
I
doors
decided
locked.
to walk to the front. I left Al standing there and headed inside. I was kind of afraid that he was going to follow me, but when I left and got to the front doors, I looked back and didn't see him at all. This made me feel better and I entered the building. When I got inside, I turned to the right and then entered the elevator. I took it up to the 3rd floor, which is the level that my apartment was on. When I arrived, I stepped off and started walking to the left. But when I did, I saw the door at the end of the hallway open that led to a stairwell. I saw Al entering the hallway.
Look at this dude.
What was he doing here? At first, I started going towards my door, but then saw Al going towards me. I quickly stopped,
Go to a
and
different
turned
floor.
and started walking in the opposite direction. At that point, I started to hear Al begin to run in my direction.
What?
So I started sprinting to the end of the hallway. When I made it there, I went into the stairs on the other side and ran down. As I was going down the stairs, I heard Al enter the stairwell and continue to chase me. Then I went into the underground parking garage beneath the building. When I got down there, I ran across it to the other end of the building. I had extended my lead on Al a little bit. I heard him get to the parking garage and keep chasing me though. Then I got to the stairs on the other side and ran up them to the ground level, then left through the side door. After I was out of the building, I ran to my car and got inside. Then I just left and drove away. I called the police while driving off and told them about the man. I drove around the streets nearby for a few minutes and then returned. When I did, Al's car was still there and he was not inside of it. The police got there just a couple of minutes later. I didn't go back inside the building until they did, and when they did, they actually found Al attempting to break into another apartment.
What is wrong with this dude?
He was never interested in buying my car. I guess he was just going to try to rob me or something.
That's why I told the sucker to pee outside.
I was going to buy a TV on Craigslist.
TV?
This was years ago, but I would browse Craigslist at work all the time back then. Several times, I got really good deals or things for free. You never really knew what you would find there.
Yep. Let me go on Craigslist after this, man.
Be very careful. So I found this really good deal on a nice TV. I was in the market for one, and the ad looked legit. The price was cheap, but not so cheap that it would make me wonder if it was too good to be true. The pictures of the TV appeared to be in somebody's home. I responded to the advertisement and said that I would like to buy the TV if it was still available. Within an hour, I got a text back from the seller saying that it was available.
Name is
It was
Joy?
a woman who said her name was Joy.
Oh,
She gave
Joy?
me an address and told me to come over the following night to buy
Wait, if this takes place in California, why does the police car say it's NYPD? That's the police in New York. What?
the TV.
Which one is
I
it?
looked up the address, and it appeared to be a house in a neighborhood that was maybe 10 minutes away. So the next day, I got the cash and drove to the address. I parked on the side of the street in front of the house in what appeared to be an average neighborhood. I think it was about 7 p.m. When I knocked on the door, it was quickly answered by a woman.
Well, hello.
She looked to be in her 30s and was about average height.
What's your name? Your
She
name,
said
Joy?
hi and invited me inside. I stepped into what looked to be the living room of the house. There were boxes around and stuff, as if maybe they were moving. There really wasn't that much furniture, and Joy said sorry that it was a mess, and I said it was fine. She then told me that the
Hey, Joy, you got a boyfriend? You know what I'm saying? Like, holla at your boy, man. No, I'm just playing.
TV was in her bedroom. She then led me to the hallway and stopped and opened the door to the bedroom. She said the TV was in there and I stepped inside. When I did, I noticed that the room appeared to be completely empty though. And right after I got inside, the door slammed shut behind me. It all happened so fast. I looked around and there was no TV in there. I turned back and saw that Joy had closed the door on me. She hadn't even entered the room. I walked over and tried opening the door, but it was locked from the outside. It was so weird. I knocked on the door and asked Joy what was going on, but she did not answer me. I kept trying the door for a minute or two, and it just wouldn't open. Then I was yelling for somebody to open the door, but was getting no response. After realizing that wasn't working, I looked around the room. It was a small bedroom and was completely empty. There was literally no furniture at all. I got out my phone and tried calling my friend, but I was getting no signal in there.
Oh,
I
man.
thought that was weird. I tried opening the door and calling for help again, but it was apparent that nobody was going to respond to me. I looked around the room, wondering what on earth was going on. Several minutes into this, and I started to hear noises coming from outside the room. It seemed like they were coming from the living room area. It was Joy and the sound of a man's voice.
I knew she was
couldn't
going to bring a
tell what
dude
they
in
were
here.
saying, but I could just hear that they were talking to each other. I yelled again, but got no response. After that, I went over to the window and tried to open it, but for some reason, it wouldn't budge. This angered me, and I went back over to the door and started banging on it as hard as I could.
Kick the door
I
down.
wanted to break the door down. Then I heard a man's voice yelling at me to stop from down the hallway. I didn't know what these people were capable of. I did stop, but just for a moment. Then I took out my phone and found my alarms. I turned my volume all the way up and started playing the most annoying alarm noise. Then I put my phone at the far side of the room. I then walked over and stood just behind the door on the other side of that. Within probably 30 seconds, I heard somebody walking towards the room. Then they got right outside the door. The door then opened and a man walked in. He
Yeah.
turned and first started going towards my phone, making all the noise. I came out from around the corner.
Lock that
and
sucker
ran
in.
past him, leaving the
Bro,
room.
you should have locked that sucker
He
in
tried
there.
grabbing me at the last second, but I just barely slipped by him. When I ran out of the room, I went down the hallway Then, when I got to the living room, I saw Joy standing there. She sort of tried to stop me, but I was going too
Fucking
fast
move.
and got around her as well. By now, the man had started to run after me. I opened up the door, and when I was doing so, Joy grabbed at my arm. I just got out the door, though. They were both running towards me, and I sprinted for my car, and luckily still had my keys on me. I unlocked my car, got inside, and sped away from there. Now, sadly, I
lucky.
left my phone, so I
You can get
couldn't
another one.
immediately call the police. I stopped at the first gas station that I saw, went inside, and asked an employee to call the police. They got to the gas station, and after talking with
NYPD?
police, we went back to the house. They recovered my phone on the side of the street a block up. When they went to the house, nobody was there. I found out that those people did not actually live in the home, and somebody else had been renting it. So I don't know if those two were ever caught. When I looked, the Craigslist post was gone. I just know that I'm never using Craigslist again after that.
Man, I'm still try to use Craigslist at least once. I'm gonna bring old reliable though. I'm not gonna go empty-handed. Facebook Marketplace.
A few years
All right, this is gonna be the last one, y'all.
ago, my husband and I turned onto the minimalist lifestyle. That is, if you don't know, retain a base minimum of belongings and don't over-encumber yourself or your home with excessive amounts of stuff. We were knick-knack types, collectors of whatever we thought was cool or even unique.
As long as it's not
Each
dolls.
windowsill in our house had different charms or minerals on display. No surface went undecorated the entire time that we were together, up until the introduction of this whole minimalism idea. Once we learned about it, we started selling all kinds of stuff. Facebook Marketplace became a passive form of income for us, but we still weren't fully satisfied. After the first year, all the knickknacks and small collections were gone, but we still felt like our house had way too much stuff. I sold a bunch of my crafts gear that I wasn't using anymore. My husband sold off tools and outdoor gear that he never used. We started to plan out what we were going to do with all the money that we saved as well. It was only like $500, but at the rate we were going, it would turn into a nice little chunk of change, more than enough to take some kind of nice vacation. We wanted to empty out even more of our
I need to
belongings,
start doing that.
see if we can get the money pile up to $1,000.
I got a couch for sale,
I
man.
was starting to sell some of my collector items, like antique chinaware, paintings, and things I largely considered just extra. My husband was on a mission to move his big 11-piece Pearl drum kit. He played a bit in college. It was just one jam band that maybe had a half a dozen shows throughout his life. But for some reason, he always held on to that drum set. In the back of his mind, he always wanted to come back to it. But now, 10 years had gone by, and he hadn't so much as even picked up a stick during that whole hiatus. He realized that the drum kit was really just a dream, and was something that needed to go. We came up with a fair price and added it to our ever-evolving Facebook Marketplace offering. It was the highest mark item at the time, and was going to make more than double the amount of savings that we accumulated. We started to get some bites, but they were mostly just offers that my husband wasn't interested in entertaining. People wanted to make trades or payments, or just make lowball offers in general. My husband wasn't having it, stuck firm on the price. He knew what that kit was worth, and he'd already moved the price down significantly. The price was right. Now we just needed to wait for the right buyer.
Good luck with that, because
A week or so later, I was home alone. I had the day off. I was going through my normal morning routines when I saw that I had a notification. Someone had commented on the post about the drum set. He said it looked great, it had an amazing price, and would love to come take a look at it. He ended his comment by asking if he could send us a DM, to which I replied yes.
all right, Ryan.
I finished up what I was doing, the laundry or the dishes, something like that. Then called my husband Mitchell. "Hey, someone commented on your drum set," I said. "Does he seem serious?" he asked. "I can't tell yet. He just commented on it. But he's the most serious person so far. He wants to come take a look at it. What time are you going to be home?" I don't know," Mitchell stammered through the phone.
Uh-oh.
He was a site manager, and they were putting up a new building. His hours during this project could vary. "I'm not really sure. So if he's wanting to see it this morning or even afternoon, and you feel comfortable, go ahead and let him come by and take a look at it. The price is firm though. This is just purely a quality check of the instrument," he explained very clearly. "Sure, sounds good. Anything special I should mention?" that it's been
This is
collecting
a
dust for
bad
10
idea.
years and may as well be brand new. I gotta go though. I love you. I love you too, I said, and then hung up. That was pretty much all I wanted to know. Make sure he was okay with the guy coming to look at it while he wasn't here, and if there was anything special that I should say. Other than that, we lived close to our neighbors, and I knew them pretty well. Also, had a decent amount of security within the house. A camera, a gun, that kind of thing.
Keep that in your back
Robbery would be
pocket.
risky for anyone coming into our house. Or at least, so I thought. I hit the guy back on the post and told him that we were good to go, to which he followed up with a DM. He said his name was Ryan and that he was very excited about finding such a killer deal.
See, that's a red flag right there. See, look,
He said his name
you said killer deal. If that's not a red flag, I don't know what is.
was Ryan and that he was very excited about finding such a killer deal. I gave him a little background info on
foreshadowing.
the drum set, and that I would be home all day if he wanted to swing by and take a look at it. Ryan said he had some other things going on, but could stop by around 1 p.m. That was just a few hours off, and it suited me perfectly. I gave him our address. I told him to hit me back on Messenger if anything changes, or if he had any trouble finding the house. With that, he signed off, and I resumed whatever I was doing. I actually looked up a YouTube video and decided that I was going to clean the drum set, and I wanted to know the best and safest way to do so. It really had collected a healthy layer of dust.
Man, get a
I
blow
wanted
dryer.
it looking good for whenever this guy
Blow it.
came around. If Mitchell came home and I had the thing sold, boy, he'd be happy. After I got it dusted and shined up, I went and took a shower. I still had plenty of time before Ryan was supposed to show up, so I figured I'd get some more of my own chores done before I did the showing. I hopped out and started drying off, and then I just got this weird feeling. I couldn't place it at first, but it was like there was something that I didn't recognize beyond the bathroom window.
Really?
We had one of those weird fog glass windows, so you could just see blurs and colors.
Still would have got
No real
curtains right there.
definition through the glass. But there was something bright red in our driveway. At first, I thought it was maybe a neighbor or a delivery driver. I snuck into the bedroom and got dressed, as I quietly listened for anything weird. Footsteps around the side of the house, or maybe somebody already inside. I really didn't know what to expect, so I kept my phone handy just in case. I snuck out to the kitchen and looked out the window. There was a red hatchback parked in the driveway right behind my car. Okay, not the weirdest thing, but definitely unusual. Just as I'm getting ready to put on my sandals and ask the neighbors if they know anything, I see something. There's a man outside the living room window, essentially standing in the front yard,
Dude,
nowhere
short.
near his car. I keep an eye on him, and I don't really panic at first because he looks like, I'm not sure, maybe he's confused, lost. He looked like a little kid. It's really hard to describe. Definitely a full-grown man skulking around my property though, but the look in his eyes was that of a child. It's weird. Still, I pulled up my phone and had my husband's number ready to dial. This guy was picking around our garden, mostly the herb patch where we grew a bunch of stuff in little squares near the front of the house.
Get off my yard.
He touched just about everything and started helping himself to links of rosemary and thyme, handfuls of basil leaves, mint, even oregano. When he had this nice little
Hey, look, here's a little cheat code if you guys have a garden outside. So, if somebody comes out there and touches your stuff, this is what you want to do. Throw in a little bit of poison ivy. So when he touch it like he's doing right there, his hand's gonna be itchy, and it's not gonna stop. You know what I'm saying? So that's a little life hack for you guys.
stash, he took it back to his car and tucked it inside the console. I
that
figured he was
poison
gonna hop
ivy.
in the car and leave, but to my surprise, he went back to the area near the window and started fiddling with the hose.
Oh no!
He got it unwrapped from the holder and turned the knob, and then started watering the herb garden. He gave it a few spurts, then put the nozzle in his mouth and started drinking from it.
I mean, I ain't
did
gonna
this-
lie. I did that when I was a kid. Like when I was young, and then I was always outside. Like we always get drink water from the water hose. Like I felt like the majority of us did that when we was
For
younger,
like 10 minutes, no joke.
and it was actually good
After he
too.
was satisfied, he made sure the hose was untangled, then started walking over to his car. I
like a
kid you
go
not, this
home.
man washed his entire hatchback in my driveway with that hose, with my own
Man,
water.
Exactly.
I
I was just
couldn't
about to say
believe what I
that
was
too.
seeing, but I was so perplexed with what I was watching, I didn't even bother to stop him. This guy was clearly crazy, or maybe he thought he was at a different house, but either way, it was my entertainment.
Dude was a
for the
maniac.
afternoon. When he was done rinsing his car and having a sip, he walked the hose back over and wrapped it up on the holder, then killed the water just as he found it. Okay, some semblance of normalcy, I guess.
But you're not gonna
I'll
say
never
nothing to
forget
him, or
watching him pull his phone out and then putz around the front yard, Facebooking or whatever the hell he was doing, like he was just at his own house. Now, I really thought this was a case of mistaken address. He must be from out of town. Thought he was at his sister's house or something.
that
Maybe
don't
he
even
knocked while
matter.
I was in the shower and I didn't answer. Now he was just waiting around. But then it happened. He put the phone to his ear. Then my phone started vibrating. I was
This
receiving a
dude
Facebook
Ryan.
message call from Ryan, the guy who was supposed to come over in an hour or two. He was the weirdo looting my garden and helping himself to my hose. I shook my head and answered. "Hello?" I said. "Hello," he said. Super weird start. "Is everything good? We still on for later?" I asked, staring right at the back of the guy's head. Yeah, I was actually gonna ask, could we move up our meeting? A bunch of stuff came up later and it'd be easier for me to come take a look rather than later. Sure.
Sucker, I'm looking at you
How
right
about
now.
noon, I asked, checking the clock. That was in 20 minutes. Perfect, he said, throwing his hands in the air. I'll be there in a bit. Thank you so much.
Sucker just lying.
And then we both hung up. It was the weirdest thing watching this guy lie, then react to his own lies. I was really put off by the whole thing and called my husband right away. I was not very pleased when he didn't answer the first, second, or third time that I tried to call his phone.
He's working.
They were in the middle of putting up these massive steel warehouse buildings, and the phone service was really bad beneath all that metal paneling. Whatever the case, I don't like how everything was progressing. I'm looking down at my phone, deciding what to do, if I should call the police, when I hear him knock. I look up and there
I'm
he
watching
is,
you
peeking through
outside.
the glass by
You
the
just
door.
want some water or what?
Gives me
Exactly.
this creepy little wave. This was the
As
exact
a matter of fact, I would have offered him some water anyways, but I would have just gave him like some toilet water or something, man. Cause bro, I would have took a random plastic cup because he's not getting none of my real cups. Go to the toilet, scoop up some toilet water. Hey, you thirsty, man? Or I'll take like an empty water bottle and do the same thing. You thirsty, man? Put the cap on. Here you go. That's all you have to do, man.
that kind of nightmare that I envisioned with my husband not being home.
Exactly, man.
I stood there like a deer in headlights while
Like toilet
Ryan
water.
continued knocking on the door. To my horror, he turned the knob and just pushed it open.
He opened the.
Mitchell hadn't locked it behind him when he left this morning for work. I couldn't believe what I just let happen, and that I failed to make any kind of call to the outside for help. "Hi," he said in a slow, creepy voice.
Supposed to be here in 20 minutes.
"Are you Erica?" "Yes," I said, trying to not to sound shaky or scared. "Are you Ryan?" "Yeah, sorry, I've been knocking for a little while.
You
Didn't mean to
lying?
freak you out or anything."
Why don't you just
He
help
explained.
yourself in?
"Yeah, it's just that we agreed to meet later at like 2 p.m. I wasn't expecting you this early.
I thought you said 12.
Or to be poking around my garden," I said. A slow smile split across his face. "Oh, yeah, you saw that? Guess I couldn't help myself," was all he said.
Don't mess
That
with
was
my
it.
plants, man.
No other explanation about showing up early or lurking around my property. I was becoming sick at this point. "So, can I see that drum set? I have cash."
Show me the cash
That brought
first.
me back to the moment. I said, "Okay, it's right back here. Maybe this all is just a fluke." This guy,
You're doing it wrong. When you doing a sale like that, ask to see the money first. Don't go ahead and show it to him first. Like, no, that's backwards. Do you want to get robbed? No. And you there by yourself with your husband's not even around. You there alone with the door unlocked. You didn't even make sure it was locked. You just staring at the dude with the door unlocked.
is excited to get the kit for such a steal. I led him inside the rec room, and the guy started going off about how pristine it was. Loved the vintage look. Loved how preserved it was. All that good stuff. This guy was on his hands and knees inspecting every little
Just
hinge on the frame.
Touching everything, man.
Then he starts telling me about the old band that he used to play in.
I
How
don't
they
care.
went by the wayside after the frontman and songwriter got locked up for selling drugs.
I don't care, man.
He was just a fill-in guy for a while, taking gigs as a sub for other bands on tour, or local acts around town who just needed him for one night. Got to learn a lot about genres and what he liked to play during those years.
So yeah, oh, that's interesting. Oh,
And suddenly, I realized this guy had been talking to me for like 40 minutes.
40
Going on
minutes?
and on and on about his whole life story.
Dude, just
He
say you
hadn't
don't
so much
care.
as turned an eye on the drums since he started talking. And now it was just all about him. I was getting that weird vibe again. I didn't know what to do. Ryan was making himself at home, walking from room to room, giving himself his own little tour, and complimenting everything that he found. I couldn't tell if this guy was just high or crazy. Either way, he would continuously kept giving me these creepy little glances over his shoulder. Look, I have a lot to do, I finally said. Do you want to buy the drum set? That's what you're here for, right? Yes, he said. The drum set. It's perfect. I want it. He pulled a bunch of money out of his pockets.
Ooh, okay.
Disorganized bills, crumbled and stuffed at random. He counted out the amount that he needed and kept asking me over and over and over again what the amount was. It was a nice round number.
1,200. That's how much it costs. 1,200. You just lied to him, man. He
I
probably
really
forgot.
couldn't figure out why he needed me to repeat it so many times.
Say 1,200.
He gave me the money and then started breaking the kit down and then schlucking it out to his car. He talked the entire time, like he never took a breath, continually talking about what he was going to do with his drums and the plans for his weekend.
Sucker, go home.
It was like this guy thought he knew me or something.
Sucker, I don't know
After
you.
he got the drums loaded up, he actually tried to come back in our house, and thank God my husband got home around this time.
Good.
Ryan's entire demeanor changed the second Mitchell's truck rolled into the driveway, like he'd been caught out or something. He went from looking like a curious kid to menacing and troubled. He didn't speak to my husband at all, just simply said thanks, climbed into his car, and left.
Weirdo, man.
I never heard from Ryan again.
Did you tell your husband what
I
happened?
haven't seen him either. The whole scenario was probably nothing, but I can't shake the feeling that I dodged something scary that afternoon. In hindsight, it just seemed like he was probing, seeing how far he could take the situation before I would start to react. I misjudged everything from start to finish and felt like a dummy for putting myself in danger.
Man, I ain't gonna lie, you should feel like that.
Sales, that's just the name of the game.
Yeah, you should feel like that. I ain't gonna lie.
I used Facebook Marketplace to try to sell my car. I had an old SUV that I was trying to see what I could get for. I had recently gotten a newer vehicle. I knew that my SUV wasn't worth all that much and was just asking $3,000 for it. It ran fine, but it had a lot of miles and was older. I took some
89,000
pictures
miles, that's
and
not
then
that bad.
listed it on Facebook Marketplace. Within days, I had some interest in the car. The very first person to contact me about it was a woman named Annie. She told me that she was very interested and would like to come over and take a look at the car. I told her that she could come by any time the next day because I didn't have anything going on. She suggested 8 p.m. and I agreed to it. So the next night, I got the car out of the garage and onto the driveway. Now, I live in a very quiet neighborhood with a little bit more space. My driveway is pretty long, so I put the SUV I was selling about halfway down. At 8 o'clock, a van pulled up in front of the bushes at the end of my front yard. I figured this had to be Annie. Sure enough, a woman got out that resembled the profile picture. She had blonde hair that was decently long and was wearing a black coat.
What can go
She
wrong?
walked up to me by the car and we shook hands. Then she began looking at the vehicle. After about 5 minutes, she asked if we could go for a test drive, and I agreed. She got in the driver's seat and I got in the passenger's. Then she backed out of the driveway, and I suggested that we should just drive around the neighborhood a little bit. The roads around there were usually very quiet and pretty easy to drive on. So we left and drove around my neighborhood for a little while. The test drive went as expected. Annie asked several basic questions about the car and seemed to be genuinely interested in it. I answered her questions, and I really thought that I might be able to sell the car to her. She drove the car pretty well, and after about 15 minutes, we headed back to my house. When we got there, she pulled back into the driveway and parked the car where it had been. After we got out of the car, she gave the keys back to me and said that she would have to think about it. I understood.
What?
I was a little bit disappointed, but buying a car is a big decision, so I really wasn't that let down or anything. I told her to let me know if she wanted it, and then we shook hands again and said bye to each other. Then I went back inside of my house as Annie drove away. After getting back inside of my house, though, almost instantly I heard something. Now, I live alone and don't have any pets, so I didn't know what on earth the noise could have been. Then I heard footsteps coming from inside. They were in the other room, as I was just inside of the living room.
I think I know what happened. When they went on the test drive, this sucker right here. Let me show you what happened. Let me show you my prediction. Look, if I go back, what do you see wrong right there? What do you see wrong in this frame right here? Take a wild guess. I'll give you 3 seconds. This sucker left the garage door wide open. So, when they left, she probably had somebody else, like in the car, probably around the corner, sneak in the house through the garage. Like, bro. Dude, you gotta be careful, man. You gotta be careful.
Back inside of my house, though, pets. So I didn't know what on earth the noise could have been.
That's one sly move they did, man.
Footsteps coming from inside. They were in the other room, as I was just inside of the living room. It sounded like it was coming from possibly the kitchen.
Nah, this dude's on crack now. Look at his eyes.
That somebody else was in my house with me. I called out, asking if anybody was there. Things were just silent. I yelled loudly, asking if anybody was inside my house, and said that I was calling the police if they were. After yelling that, I backed away towards my front door. I could leave the house if somebody was in here and came after me. My heart was racing, and I didn't really know what to do, because clearly somebody else was inside. Then I heard the back door to my house that goes to the patio open up.
What?
This was still out of my view, so I couldn't see anything. The door then shut, and I stayed where I was. I wasn't 100% sure that whoever was in the house had actually left. Probably 10 seconds later, as I still stood in the living room by the front door to my house, I heard a noise coming from outside and behind me. It was coming from the driveway, and I looked and saw a man sprinting down my driveway. He was running so fast, plus the sun had just set, so I couldn't get a good description of him. The only thing I could really tell was that he was a grown man in dark clothing. After he sprinted to the end of the driveway, my jaw dropped. I watched him quickly jump into the back seat of a car that had just come to a stop on the side of the road in front of my house.
I called it.
The car was the same van that Annie had been driving. After he got inside, the van violently screeched away. It was only then that I looked around my entire house to make sure that nobody else was there. They were gone, but I had several things stolen from me.
You still leaving the garage door? Bro, everything that happens to you, you deserve it, man.
Some cash from my bedroom.
I don't even feel bad.
My old iPhone that I didn't use anymore, and a couple of other small things. I called the police, and they came out a short time later. I told them everything, but unfortunately, I didn't get the license plate to the van. Annie, if that was even her name, blocked me on Facebook.
Oh, the sugar in the book.
I could to the police. The way the intruder got in the house was my own fault. I had left my garage door open when I was gone.
I called it.
The house from the garage.
Yo, I freaking called it, man. Let's go, man. Bro,
it was unlocked. I felt really stupid for that. But my neighborhood is always very quiet.
And you left the lights on.
My garage is so far back in the driveway, I never felt in danger if it was open. I guess the guy was in Annie's van, and when we left for the test drive, he got out and just walked right in.
I freaking called it down to the T.
Anybody that I didn't know to my house after this. From that point forward, when I tried selling my car, I had them meet me at a local business or something. If you use any websites like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist,
don't meet at your house,
advise
man.
you to learn from my mistake and meet in a public location if you have to meet at all.
Oh, trust. Nobody's gonna be like you. Nobody's gonna leave their garage door open after when they... Dude, nobody's doing that. Trust me, nobody's gonna be like you, man.
I have a terrible horror story from using Facebook Marketplace. I'm telling you, I will never use it again, and I'm still mad about it. So this happened about 2 years ago. I had this really nice 50-inch TV, which had been the main TV in my living room. However, I got a new one that was 65 inches.
65 inches?
The other one was too big for my bedroom, and I already had one in there, so I decided to sell the 50-inch TV. I thought, what better place to sell a television than Facebook Marketplace? So I took a couple of pictures and then listed it. At first, I got nothing. Then somebody lowballed me, and I blocked them for making such an insulting offer.
Oh, you
then
really blocked
somebody
them?
reasonable came along. It was a guy named Tim.
Bro.
Tim said that he... Then somebody reasonable came along.
Look at Tim, man. He want to be Goku so bad. Bro, this dude look like he's in his mid-50s, bro. Or mid-40s. He don't even look right.
It was a
Block
guy
him
named
too.
Tim. Tim said that he was interested in buying the TV and asked me if it worked. I told him yes, it works just like new, which it did. He then gave me an
Hello,
offer,
he's
and I
Goku.
countered, which he accepted.
This
I was perfectly
look, Goku from Timu. That's what he is. Goku from Timu.
satisfied with the amount of money that I would be getting.
Or
So
Sheen
we
or something like
arranged a
that.
date and time for Tim to come over and buy the TV. When it arrived, he
Or
showed up
look,
to my
Goku from Facebook Marketplace. It's so fitting.
house, and I invited him inside. I turned on the TV, showing him that it worked and everything. Then he paid me the cash, and I gave him the television. He carried it out into his car, and then he left. I was happy with the sale that I made. A couple of weeks went by, and then, out of nowhere, I got a message from Tim on Facebook. He said that the TV broke, and he wanted a full refund for it.
Sucker,
Now,
did you
when I
break
sold
it?
it to him, it had worked just fine.
Yeah, that sucker
It was
broke
also
it.
2 weeks since I had made the sale. I was a seller on Facebook Marketplace. I don't offer any kind of a warranty. I told him no. I was pretty confident that whatever happened to the TV, if anything actually
Yeah,
happened,
sucker, his ass
it was
is,
probably
man.
Tim's fault. Out of curiosity, I asked him what exactly happened to the TV. Tim claimed that he had no clue and said that it was just broke. He also said that I must have done something to it.
What?
He then claimed that he could sue me. I
Go
asked
ahead
to
and
see
try.
a picture. Tim sent me a picture of the TV, which had clearly been smashed. It looked like somebody had punched the screen. I asked him if he had punched it, which made him really angry. He asked me if I was going to give him a refund or not. I told
Sucker,
him
no. I've been
I
spent your
told
money.
him that it's been weeks and I'm not required to offer any kind of a warranty. I reminded him how I showed him the TV worked fine just before he bought it. Tim then cursed me out and I blocked him.
Good.
I couldn't believe he expected me to give him a refund. That very same night, he showed up at my house.
What?
Obviously, he knew my address from before, and he banged on my door after getting there. I did not open it for him, and I yelled for him to go away. He shouted back that he was not leaving without his money.
Why is everybody on drugs, bro? Why are their eyes so red? Like, bro, this freaking Goku from Facebook Marketplace gotta go, man.
He said that he brought the TV
I'm about to
with
sue
him,
you.
and he wanted to return it.
And this has nothing to do
I
with
looked
me.
out the window, and I saw that he did in fact have the TV with him. I said that he couldn't, and that was that. Tim still wasn't leaving, so I threatened to call the police. Finally, that seemed to get him to go away. But as he was leaving, I watched him walk over
Yo,
to
this
my
dude
car
was
in the driveway
high on
and
bath
throw
salts,
the TV
man.
at my windshield. He then
Whoa.
walked away, leaving the TV on the driveway. After he left, I walked out to see if there was any damage to my car. Surprisingly, there wasn't. The windshield held up perfectly. I couldn't say the same for the TV, though. It was already broken, but after it fell to the pavement of the driveway, it got even more broken. Luckily, though, I never saw Tim or heard from him again after that.
Man, good, man. Tim, bro. Stay off Facebook Marketplace, man. Because, bro, you don't... What the heck is that? 3 True Diddy Horrors? What? Bro. I'm so dead, man. That's crazy, man. But alright, y'all. I'm about to cap it off right there, y'all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this live stream, man. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers, man. I can't wait till we hit that. I got something awesome planned when we hit that. And yeah, man, I'll see you guys tomorrow in tomorrow's video, man. Peace.